And welcome back to the Sporting Lounge. Thanks for coming along. Don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, do all that stuff. Today, we are going to be talking about Week 11 NFL football.
Hell yeah.
A lot of big news coming out, especially out of Cleveland. That's something I want to go ahead and circle on today. And
Your
We'll
favorite player?
go ahead. Yeah, my favorite player in the game. I love him.
All the
We'll talk
sports.
about that a little bit more in just a moment. But
You love
tomorrow
him so
night,
much. You wish.
we are recording November 15th, 2023. It's a Wednesday afternoon, and we're going to
Wednesday
be putting
evening.
in our Week 11 predictions, talking about some starts and sits throughout the games, what you should do. And let's go ahead and start with Bengals-Ravens. This should be a high-scoring affair, I'm assuming. And I think the fantasy relevance of this week's game is going to be supreme. Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson meet each other over in Baltimore. And let's just get this out of the way. What do you think the final score is going to be?
Honestly, when we see two powerhouses go together, because I thought the 49ers Jags was going to be a high scoring game, and it was, but it was high scoring one sided.
Yeah.
That's a game that I bet, like betting size, I bet a lot of people probably didn't take the under on that one. And the under would have killed it.
Yeah, the under would have been huge.
I'm saying I think the Bengals probably take this because this is a game they need a lot more than the Ravens need.
So,
right?
kind of.
I think.
If
Well, just
the
because
Ravens,
they're.
if the Ravens win this, they keep the top seed in the North.
Mm-hmm.
If the Ravens lose this and the Steelers win against the Browns, they fall to second. And if they lose another game, they will go to third. So this is a pivotal game, especially because even if the Bengals win, like not this week, but in a following week, they will be at the same rate as the Ravens, and they have the tiebreaker. So when the Ravens go on by, they'll only be half a game ahead of the Bengals if the Bengals win this week. And then when they go on by, if the Bengals win, they would take over their spot. So the Ravens would fall to second and then third.
Right, but on the flip side, if the Bengals lose, they drop to 5-5. Right, But if they win, they go up to 6-4, potentially jump Cleveland or the Browns. It'll be one of the two, depending on obviously
Cleveland
which one
or the
wins.
Steelers. Yep.
Yeah, it just depends who wins and who loses. So from that perspective, is why I think it's much more pivotal and important for the Bengals, because to drop to the 5-5, that's going to be tough to actually come back from that, and they have to play the Ravens again after the fact. Like, sure, the Ravens will drop to 7-4 and then drop to second place at worst, but they're not in fourth.
Yeah,
They still have a grasp and a very solid chance on first place, where now the Bengals kind of just seems they're fighting for second place in a way.
If they win this, then them getting up to first place is a realistic conversation.
Right, but it's just because of the way they're playing, I don't know if they can beat the Browns. I don't know if they'll beat the Browns, or frankly, even the Steelers at this point. Right,
that's fair.
It's like any win they can get is crucial, because at this point, their best chance of making the playoffs is probably as a wild card.
Yeah, and they got 2 dates with the Steelers this season still.
Yep.
So that's tough too. With that being said, I think it's an equal value worth game on both sides, because the Ravens lose this game, this could open the door to them going down to third place realistically off of one loss. So that's how it gets scary, because either way, if the Steelers and Browns win, either one of them, then they're going to claim second, right? Then Ravens lose this game, they go down to second underneath whoever wins that game because of tiebreakers. I think that, because Browns got tiebreakers over the Ravens and the Steelers got tiebreakers over the Ravens. So they would automatically fall down to second, essentially, because they got a game and a half. Or they got a half game lead. And then the Steelers and Browns move up. And then if the Bengals win, then they're right in that conversation to possibly slide up to first place off of a win, 2 wins against the Steelers or a win against the Browns. And obviously, as you said, like, you know, it is much more crucial for the Bengals to even have playoff hope. But the Ravens, like, it could turn into that for them very quickly as well. Yeah. They only need to lose 2 games to go down to fourth place.
If I had to put a percentage on it, I'd probably say like 55-45 type of thing. Where I do agree with you that it's still very important for the Ravens, but I think it's just like a little bit more so for the Bengals.
So I agree. I think it is more important for the Bengals to win this game. I think that's true. I do want to point out the intricacies of how critical that Ravens win would be.
Yeah, because that AFC North is the most competitive. And we didn't really foresee that.
Yeah,
coming into this season.
Remember, I was saying the NFC North and the AFC North were going to be the toughest divisions, and
who are you starting from the Ravens?
Well, obviously, Mar.
You're benching him, man.
No, I think Lamar's the obvious start. Honestly, I don't think Gus is going to have a great game. The Bengals have a very good defensive line, and they struggle in their secondary. So, you know, Gus, if he does have a good game, it will be off of 5 or 6 receptions for 60 yards and a TD, either that be on the ground or through the air. But he's going to need to get a significant amount of yardage through passing, and he needs to get a few receptions to be relevant. Which Gus just isn't that type of back usually, but we've seen him do it before. So it's not something I'm like saying is out of the realm of possibility. But I think Gus moves from an RB2 to a low flex this week. So, you know, if you need to start someone, I would still start him over a lot of guys. But, you know, I'd be hesitant to start him if you have like another option like, you know, Raheed Shaheed, you know, even Tyler Boyd in this matchup. Like, I love Tyler Boyd in this matchup.
Dixie, he's currently the RB17 too, which I didn't really think he'd be that high at this point in the season.
Yep.
He's had like 1, 2, 3, 4. No, 2 20-point games. Never mind.
You know, and especially with T. Higgins being ruled out. You know, like,
it's gonna be prime targets for Tyler Boyd right there over the middle of the slot.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, on the Ravens side of the ball, you know, they're missing Trent Simpson, who's a solid linebacker. But the big thing that I want to circle is Marlon Humphrey's doubtful.
Yeah.
And also they're missing Ronnie Staley. And so that's a big thing for Gus Edwards as well, and Lamar for that matter. Lamar, I think, is going to end up having about 400 yards this game. I'm going to call over 350 would be my call on it. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes over 350 through the air and on the ground, obviously.
Yeah, I could see that.
And
okay, so
I think that stat line is going to look somewhere around 350 total, 3 touchdowns total, and maybe even 2 turnovers. But, you know, that's still very good for fantasy.
All right. So start state question revolving around Gus Edwards. Gus Edwards or Ty Chandler?
I'd have to go Gus, because we know that he's going to be good for 50 points or 50 yards, not 50 points, excuse me, for at least 5 points. Yeah, no, right. 50 yards at least, and probably a reception or 2. So, like, I'm looking at him as like a 7-point basement, and Gus just does have that potential to go and get a touchdown or 2 every game. So, like, he does have that boom potential, but I'm looking at him realistically at about 9 points this week.
Gus Edwards or Rico Dowdle? I forget how to say his name.
Gus Edwards.
From Gus Edwards, okay. Gus Edwards or Devin Singletary?
Singletary.
If Dameon Pierce doesn't play.
Correct.
Are you still starting? Would you still choose Devin Singletary even if Dameon Pierce plays?
Devin Singletary's played really well.
In his absence, yeah.
Like,
rush for career high 150 last week.
Do you think? I don't know, man. Like, that's a good question. Honestly, yeah. Fuck it. I don't think that they're going to give up on him. Like, yeah. Like, he's already proven that he's valuable. So, like, even if he doesn't get the same workload, I think he'll be better than Gus Edwards.
Yeah, I'll say if I think Singletary is only really worth starting if Dameon Pierce plays, because then he's really going to get those 30 carries. And against a weak Arizona defense, you got to really capitalize on that. So then I would probably lean Gus Edwards at that point. But if Dameon Pierce plays, personally, I'm kind of staying away from him.
So let me rival that.
Because Dameon Pierce hasn't been playing well either. So maybe they do just continue riding the hot hand with the Texans.
Yeah. So that's kind of what I was thinking. But even better, you pointed out a really good point. They're playing against a poor Cardinals defense. So, give the ball to each back about 15 times. Devin Singletary on 15 touches, I could see going for 80 to 90 yards. And maybe a touchdown. And even so, even if he doesn't get that touchdown, he might even get a reception or two out of the backfield, and that makes him more relevant than Gus Edwards. And that's a realistic stat line, I think. I could see him getting 70 to 90 total yards. So let's say 80 on 2 receptions. And let's not even throw the touchdown in there. That's 10 points, and that's higher than what I think Gus Edwards is going to be. Even if
that's fair.
Dameon comes back. That's even if Dameon comes back.
Okay, so would you consider starting Keaton Mitchell over Gus Edwards? Or are you kind of just staying away from that running attack?
I could see it, but I like Edwards more. I feel like Edwards is safer. That's why I'm willing to take Edwards over those 3 that you mentioned.
Yeah,
is because
that's fair.
I feel like Edwards is safer, and I feel like Singletary is just safer than Edwards this week. Only because the Bengals have a sneaky good defensive line. It doesn't get talked about a lot, but their defensive line is really good. And the issue with the Bengals defense is their secondary. So, they're going to be busy trying to keep Lamar contained. And, they're going to have a spy over the middle. And the thing is with a spy is, when you're playing against a guy like Gus Edwards, you're going to have the mic pretty much one-on-one with the running back. He's going to be watching for the option, and that's going to be your first point of attack on defense. So, he's going to be watching that B gap. He's going to be watching that 4 and 6 slot specifically. And I think that's where they're going to be. I think that's the matchup to watch. Is Gus Edwards going to be able to beat the mic?
I get it.
I think he'll have some success. I just I don't think he's going to be shut down. Just fantasy wise, So
it's kind of like a boomer bust play for you.
Yeah. I don't think the bust is as big as it is with other players, because as I said, I think his basement's 7 or 8 points, so it's not horrible. But you don't want to have 7 points on your start. But as a flex, I feel safe putting him as a flex. I just don't feel safe with him as an RB2 this week.
Okay, so you put him the back, mid RB3.
Yeah,
mid to late RB3 kind of thing. Okay,
I think high RB4 is where I'm putting him.
I would agree with that. I'm kind of just staying away from that Ravens running back room right now. So I'm really only want Lamar, Mark Andrews, Zay Flowers.
OBJ, you gonna start Zay Flowers this week?
Oh no, shit. OBJ is a sneaky play.
I like OBJ. I feel like he's really starting to get tempo back. I feel like we're starting to see OBJ play at a good form. The last few weeks, I think he's gotten at least 10 points every week, and I think he had a 25-point breakout.
But I would start Zay Flowers, though. I think he could be a sneaky good play.
I think Zay Flowers could be good. I think Zay Flowers would be good. So what about Aguilar?
I think he's kind of more just like a shot in the dark type of player. I think he's someone to fill in, and he's on your team. He wouldn't be a bad play, but I mean, it's really Mark Andrews and then whoever else in that pecking order kind of for receiving targets. But the 2 best plays for me, wide receiver wise, would be Zay Flowers and OBJ.
I can definitely see that. I think Aguilar would be a really good boomer bust if you have him. He's not worth very much for trade value, but specifically this week, if you already have him, I would flex him, and I'd flex him over Gus Edwards personally, just because I think the matchup, it matches up well for him, because he's going to be matching up against DJ Turner, I think, or Mike Hilton, and that's a good matchup for him. Mike Hilton is a really handsy guy. DJ
last time they
Turner
played the
plays
Bengals,
pretty good.
last time they played the Bengals, he got 17.5 points. So, and like you said earlier, the Bengals got a weak secondary. So that's where it leaves a lot of room for the Ravens wide receivers to have good fantasy days and have relevance that way.
Yeah, like the thing is with Aguilar is he accelerates on like deep routes, and I think the Bengals are going to be forced to play in a spy set, so you're going to be playing like a soft zone over the middle, and that's where Aguilar eats, is in that soft spot in that cover 2 seam.
Yeah.
Aguilar has made a career off of that and short receptions, on like screens and shit, because he's got that speed. So I think Aguilar could have a day. He's my boomer bust player of the week. I think
I'm with it.
I think that's pretty much it on the Ravens side of the ball. Also, let's mention their defense. Roquan Smith already has over 100 tackles on the season, which is insane, and Patrick Queen has 84. So,
not good enough.
Just between their 2 middle linebackers, they already have almost 200 tackles.
Pretty weak numbers, if you ask me. All right, real quick before we move on to the Bengals, then, since you said Aguilar is your boomer bust player, where do you think his ceiling is, and what do you think the floor is?
I think his floor is 5 points, and I think his ceiling is 25.
Okay.
Like, I could see him going and getting a touchdown in like a 100-yard game on like 10 receptions. So that's 26.
Against this Bengals secondary, that's not impossible.
Like, because like here's the thing, like let's go ahead and break down a game plan idea. Like, this is probably going to be the game plan the Bengals come in with. You got to shut down Zay Flowers and Mark Andrews, and you have to go ahead and make sure that Gus Edwards doesn't start shredding you, and that's kind of okay because of your defensive line. You kind of had that handled, and you're going to get pressure on Lamar, so you need to have a Mike over the top playing a spy, making sure that Lamar doesn't flood out. So you're going to be forced to do that. And, the Bengals play in a 4-3 set. So, whether it be their weak side or their strong side linebacker, they're going to be forced to play in zone coverage to make sure Mark Andrews doesn't get those easy curl routes. And the safeties are going to have to play cover 2. They're going to have to play a lot of deep coverage today or tomorrow. They're going to have to play significant coverage over the top. And there's going to be a lot of man-on-man matchups. So that's where OBJ and Aguilar can make a day. But the thing is with OBJ and Zay Flowers is they're going to be getting caught between, the starting 2 cornerbacks for the Bengals. So, they're going to be stuck right in between Awuzie and Taylor Britt, who like aren't elite by any means, but Taylor Britt, is starting to come into his own, and Mike Hilton seems like he's lost a step. So like, especially if Aguilar ends up matching up against Hilton, that's when you start to get that like really scary matchup for the Ravens. If he ends up matching up against DJ Turner, I still feel very confident about it because it's like he's just going to be able to beat him out. I don't think DJ Turner can keep up with Aguilar. I'm not usually very high on Aguilar, just specifically in this matchup. It's a really good matchup for him because of how the Bengals defense is going to have to game plan around the rest of the Ravens offense. And that's good for him. I think Aguilar is going to get open on a lot of routes, and if he gets seen, then he's going to get like 10 catches for 100 yards and probably a touchdown. I wouldn't be surprised if that was the stat line.
Right. I could see it. Okay, so from the Bengals side of the ball, who you feeling confident in? Who you feeling not confident in?
I'm feeling really, really confident in Tyler Boyd. I am.
You think he's going to eat up a lot over the middle?
Yeah, I think he's going to get a lot of stuff over the middle, but also with T. Higgins being down, I wouldn't be surprised to see him get like spider routes on Y. The Bengals are probably going to be running trap X over, or excuse me, the Ravens are probably going to be running a little bit of trap X. We see them do it consistently week in, week out. So trap X, being double on Jamar Chase. make sure that Jamar Chase doesn't get out of control. And Jamar Chase isn't having that great of a season. This would be a good game for him to get back into tempo. Tyler Boyd, I am very confident in. He's been having a killer year, and especially at that Y position. It looks like they're starting him at Z, but they might start him at Y because Iazovez is down. I can't fucking say his name.
They got three wide receivers. Yeah, they got 3 players out right now, or 3 wide receivers.
Yep. So they got
Jamar Chase, Trent Irwin, and Tyler Boyd.
Yep.
They're gonna be the healthy ones. So they're gonna be hurting, and probably gonna be leaning on those tight ends. So tight ends like Drew Sample might be worth the start.
Do you think Irv Smith is going to get work?
He probably will too.
I think Irv Smith's a lock for 5 points at least.
I think between the two, if you're only going to be starting one, you kind of just got to go who you like more.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. I think that's just what it's going to come down to because they're both going to get work, but who's going to get that touchdown?
Mm-hmm. Joe Mixon, I think, is going to be a big deal.
Yeah, especially in the running, or not the running, the rushing. Rushing side, they might try and swing him out more, put him out in the slot, especially with how thin they are at wide receiver. I think that's very plausible that they do that.
Yeah. Joe Mixon does make people look like fools when they go into empty, and he runs like a little skinny route. He's done it a couple times this year where he just breaks out like a 30-yard reception.
Yep.
So I wouldn't be surprised. Mixon is a good back. I'm looking at this Bengals team and I just don't know if they can overcome the Ravens. I really don't.
It as cliche as it is to say, it kind of just depends on what Bengals team shows up to play.
Yeah.
Right? Because they are better than their 5-4 record currently, but in all of their losses, you're like, what are you doing? Some of their play design just looks ugly. Their play calling in those losses, especially, I don't think we're good.
Yep.
They made a lot of mistakes. Burrow had some interceptions. They had some fumbling problems too as well. So in those losses, they basically just beat themselves. Right? So did they play mistake-free ball this game? Probably not. Ravens probably going to get an interception or 2, but can the Bengals overcome that and not let that just get to their head?
Yeah.
I think that's going to be very telling.
It is do or die for the Bengals. You're right. It is do or die for the Bengals. If they lose this week, they're sitting at 5-5. It's an ugly AFC conference, not just the North, but let alone their standings in the North. They need to get this win to move up to 6-4 and have a real chance at that playoff spot. And also, that knocks the Ravens down to 6 or 7-4, and it gives them a chance to go and win the division.
Because I think if they don't win this game, their chances of winning that division goes from at this rate, kind of I think everyone has a 25% chance at winning the division. Each team could, but if the Bengals lose this, I think it goes down drastically, down to 5 or 10%. Assuming because then they're going to need every team above them to almost lose out, right? To lose quite a few games, and I just don't think they're all going to do that.
Yeah, the Bengals do have the luxury of having quite a few divisional matchups coming up, but this is the last time they're playing the Ravens this season, I think. So,
yeah, because they played in week 2. They played in week 2.
I was going to say, I thought they played week 2. I couldn't remember.
Okay, so all right, so I'm looking at the playoff picture as it stands since he's 8th.
Yep, they're right on the outside looking in.
Right, because if they lose this game, they fall in 5-5, which means the Colts, Bills, possibly the Raiders could all jump them. Even the Chargers sitting at 12 at 4-5. There's a lot on the line because they could fall 4 or 5 spots.
Yeah,
in the playoff standing, and then just be on the outside looking in.
But they win this game, all of a sudden you're looking at them not this week, but at the end of next week, you could be looking at them as the number 2 seed.
They would at least jump up to 7 potentially, depending on the Texans.
Yeah,
right, because the Texans are still sitting at 5.
Because check it, right? So Bengals win this game, they move up to 6-4. Ravens fall to 7-4. I believe the Ravens have their bye week next week. Let me double check that.
Oh, you're
because
talking
they
about
don't.
after next week. Okay.
Yeah, after next week.
I thought when you said next week, you were just talking about after these games coming up.
No, so they have their bye on week 13, so not next week, but the week after. So if the Ravens lose next week, or they win and the Bengals win next week, and then come to the bye week, then you could look at the Ravens or the Bengals being in first place of the AFC North, and they could go ahead and slide up to a top 4 seeding, at least, and take where the Ravens are. I said second seed because that's just where the Ravens are currently, but it's realistically possible.
At worst, they'll go up to. At worst, they'll be in the top 7, right?
Yeah.
At like the 7 or 6 spot at the worst. Which I mean, as long as you make the playoffs, so, I mean, at the end of the day, that's all that matters, right? Obviously, you want that 1 seed, but they're out of it pretty much, unless the Chiefs wins out.
Yeah, the Chiefs need to blunder to lose that first seed at this juncture.
Yeah, I would agree, but and we'll get into that game a little bit more later because they played the Eagles, so that's going to be a good game. Yep.
So,
all right, what is your final prediction?
Yeah, we're right there.
We said at the same time. Jinx, you owe me soda.
You want to hold hands or something, bro?
Yeah, that'd be kind of cute. That'd be pretty cute. I'm gonna go. I still believe in Bengals and Joe Burrow and that offense and what they've done. So I'm going to go. I feel like I should choose the Ravens, but I've been riding on the Bengals all year long. So I feel like I can't just go against them now.
Okay.
At this point, honestly. So I'm going to go 27-24 Bengals win.
All right.
I think it's going to be a close game. I think it's going to be good. Bengals should have won last week, probably, but Tyler Boyd dropped that pass in the end zone. 34-28. I like it.
I'm thinking 34-28 Ravens. I think it's going to be a high-scoring affair. I think that this is going to have a lot of fantasy relevance. I think Jamar Chase is still obviously a lock to start. You have to. You put that much value into a wide receiver, you got to start him week in, week out. But, Tyler Boyd is going to be really good this week, and I think you hit it right on the head with the tight end efficiency. I think Irv Smith is going to be a lock for 5 points at his basement. I think he could potentially get up to like 12 to 15 points on a good week. I think Drew Sample has that potential as well. So you got to pick your poison there. But Joe Mixon, I think, is going to be a lock for at least 11 points. And I think that his boom potential is up to 24 points.
Yeah, he's going to eat. And I think he's not going to get a lot of fantasy relevance from running the ball, but rushing the ball is where I think he's going to really explode.
Receiving?
Yeah.
Receiving the ball?
Did I say running the ball again? Well, I'm dumb.
Yeah, you said
receiving
not running the ball, but rushing the ball. That's like the third time you said it.
Yeah, I'm tired. But no, receiving the ball, that's where I think he's really going to eat because that's where he's going to get that touchdown, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And we saw with Kenneth Walker last week, right? He had that one catch for 64 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah.
Joe Mixon does something like that and then gets 70 yards on the ground. That's a damn good fantasy day.
Yeah, that would literally rack up 18 points, about 19 points right there, that stat line. And that's a realistic stat line, especially with how high scoring this affair is going to be. Someone has to score. I don't see that affair being a low scoring game. But this next game that we're going to talk about, I do see being a low scoring affair. And that's going to be Steelers-Browns.
Browns have been playing good, man.
Yep. Pittsburgh.
They've been scoring some games.
Pittsburgh Steelers are going to the dog pound.
Yeah, Steelers won the first matchup 26-22, so this game is important for both teams. I'm excited to watch it. I think that probably the Steelers almost kind of want to say the Steelers win it again in similar fashion that they did last time.
So this is a game that I'm feeling very confident in the Steelers. If I wasn't a Steelers fan, but I'm scared because I am a Steelers fan, and Deshaun Watson's down, and the Steelers tend to do this thing where when there's a no name that is starting at a superstar position, they'll just let him have a career day. Hopefully that's not the case scenario. Analytically speaking, this shouldn't be a very close game. We were talking about it last episode last night. The Steelers aren't the type of team that will blow you out. They're the type of team that will grind you down to a nub and just control the game. And that's just a tough team for anybody to beat. Like, it doesn't matter if the Steelers are playing against, the Eagles, the Chiefs, the 49ers again. Like, I think the 49ers week 1, like, I don't think that's the type of team that the Steelers actually are. Like, we're starting to see what kind of team the Steelers team is, and it's hard to beat a good smash mouth team. That's the Titans made the playoffs multiple years doing that, and they've won playoff games doing that. And the Steelers defense is better than that Titans defense ever was when they were doing that just recently, like the last 5 seasons. With that being said, so my starts and sits this week is going to be, I would start Kenny this week, honestly. I think Kenny's going to have a field day. I think Najee's pissed off. Jalen Warren's named the starter. Najee, I think this is a good thing for Najee. It could be a wake-up call that, hey, we don't care that we drafted you in the first round. This undrafted rookie has been outperforming you. Earn it. And Najee's going to get touches. And I want to see Najee get pissed off. But I'm scared to start him. I'm scared to start him fantasy-wise.
Kind of staying away from him.
He's a flex start for me. I think Jalen Warren has earned his roses and is a lock at RB2. And I think Connor Hayward is going to be a good start for tight end this week. I think he's going to end up getting about 10 to 12 points. I don't see it being boom or bust. I think that's just kind of where he's at. If you throw a touchdown in there, then it's obviously more. But I'm not going to predict that score. I don't see him necessarily being a lock for a touchdown. But what I do see is, I think Kenny Pickett's going to spread the ball around. I think Deontay Johnson is the start over George Pickens. George Pickens is going to have a field day at some point this year, and you got to decide when you're going to lock that in. And I think once George Pickens gets hot, I don't think it necessarily could be this week. I wouldn't be surprised if it was. But, you're playing against a tough Browns defense. Like, the Browns have a very good defense. George Pickens, I feel like, is good. And I feel like if you want to take that risk, he's my dart throw for this week overall. George Pickens would be my dart throw. You probably spent a good amount of resources to obtain him. And if you're in a position where, you're like, I'm willing to take the risk, do it. On the Steelers' defensive side of the ball, they have Cole Holcomb, Quan Alexander, and Chappelle Russell down at middle linebacker. So they're down to Mark Robinson and Landon Roberts. Cam Hayward's back. He's questionable this week, but he's probably going to play. Montravius Adams, questionable this week, but probably going to play. Minka Fitzpatrick, he's questionable, but probably going to play. And Keanu Neal, it's questionable, but is probably going to play. So the Steelers' defense is looking like it's going to be at full power other than Cole Holcomb and Quan Alexander. And Cole Holcomb was a rotational player with Mark Robinson. So pretty much Quan Alexander is the only starter down on the Steelers' defense. You go ahead and look at this Browns side of the ball.
Yeah, because they're going to be playing Dorian Thompson-Robinson at quarterback. Rookie.
Yep. And on the Browns side of the ball, Greg Newsom's questionable. Denzel Ward's questionable.
They're a little banged up.
Rumor has it Greg Newsome might not play this week. And obviously the big injury news coming out is that Deshaun Watson is on IR. So, the Browns are pretty injury riddled. Deshaun Watson's out for the year now. They got Dorian Thompson-Robinson starting. What are you thinking there?
The Browns got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 people on IR.
Yep.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 questionable, and a few three already ruled out. So, like, the only ones I'm probably starting this game, though, is Dorian Thompson-Robinson if I'm super desperate at quarterback, if I have like a bye week quarterback and I just need to pick someone up. Yeah, and if I just needed to pick someone up as a emergency start, because at the end of the day, some points are better than none. Right? So even if he gets you 3 points, that could make all the difference, potentially.
That's true.
But he could also get you negative points. I could see that against the Steelers defense. just end with like -4 points.
Yeah.
But outside of him, I'd feel pretty comfortable starting Amari Cooper.
Obviously.
And Jerome Ford, probably a pretty good start.
What about Kareem?
Who?
Kareem Hunt?
You know what? Let's see, what did he do last game? I'd probably start him because he's gotten, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 6 touchdowns the last 6 weeks or 5 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
But he's been getting like 30 to 50 yards and that touchdown. I mean, that's 11 points right there. If he gets 50, 60 yards and a touchdown, plus whatever receiving work he gets. Bruh. He seems like a pretty safe play at this point just because of that touchdown upside.
Yeah.
And he has that massive touchdown upside right now. So I would probably take the risk on him as well. I might lean. All right, if you had to start one, Jerome Ford or Kareem Hunt?
Kareem Hunt.
Kareem Hunt.
What about you?
I get the argument. And you know what? I'm gonna change it. I'm gonna say Kareem Hunt as well because of that rushing upside, or not the touchdown upside.
So
I think that's massive. Jerome Ford gets yards, gets carries, but he doesn't always get a lot of yards, nor does he get touchdowns like Kareem Hunt does.
So here's kind of what I'm thinking is going to happen this game. You know, I think the Browns are going to run the ball like 25, 35 times. And Kareem Hunt's just going to get a starter type workload this game. Because, you know, Dorian Thompson, you're not trying to get him to pass the ball a ton. It's going to be a matter of how well the Steelers defense can go ahead and stop them. If the Steelers defense isn't able to stop them efficiently and effectively, then, you know, that's where Kareem Hunt's going to have a field day. But even in that case scenario where they're not stopping them effectively, Jerome Ford's going to be their grinder. And then Kareem Hunt's going to come in and probably go ahead and go finish up yards, like on 3rd and 1 situations, go break off a 5-yard run. You know, that's just the type of player Kareem Hunt is. And the Steelers defense does bend, but it doesn't break. This is the first time.
A lot of that work. I could see him getting a lot of that work in those dink and dunk situations.
Yeah.
Unlike those 3rd and 3s, 3rd and 4, those 3rd and shorts, right? Just doing a little swing out or bubble screen or something like that.
Yeah.
And just picking up that first down.
Yeah, and I mean, like, this is the first time this season that the Steelers are playing, knock on wood, a bad quarterback.
Yeah.
You know,
Will Levis, he's pretty bad.
Will Levis, you know, like, you can make the argument about Will Levis and Jordan Love, but, like, and you can make the argument with Jimmy Garoppolo, but I wouldn't say that they're bad. You know, this is the first time the Steelers defense is playing a bad quarterback. And I think
you also don't really know what you're getting from him too, so you can't really call him bad, but he's definitely the most unknown quarterback, I would say. I would.
From what we have seen, from what we do know, right? He started one game against the Ravens. He got sacked 4 times, threw 3 picks, had 121 yards on 36 attempts.
Right.
You know, like, if the Steelers' defense is at full power this week, like it's looking like, then I don't know.
Yeah, and that's why I think that it's really going to be a grindy game for the Browns. They're just going to run the ball a lot. I would not be surprised if they run it 40 times in this game and only throw like 25, roughly.
And something else is the Steelers have scored on their opening drive in the last 2 weeks. So if the Steelers go up 10 to 14 points in the first quarter, which I didn't think I'd be able to say this at all this season, then Dorian's going to be forced to throw the ball. And that's when things can start to get out of control. Like, this might be a game that's over in the first half.
No, for sure. It definitely could be because, like you said, this is the first time they really played this type of quarterback. Like, he's not a good quarterback, and we also don't really know what we're going to get from him. So it's kind of hard to predict it. Now, do I think he's going to play well enough to beat the Steelers? Probably not. I don't think he will. Do they Browns have the ability to beat the Steelers? I would say yes, because their defense, I think, is very good. And then they also do have a lot of good offensive players. But is Dorian Thompson going to play to the level that he needs to? because that Steelers secondary, like you said, they're fully healthy. They're going to be almost fully healthy at least. So that's a tough battle. That's a tough test.
Yeah, because like it could get ugly really quick. It's the Steelers make a living on their defense by shutting down the run and letting you get yards through the air, and then not letting you score that touchdown. They bend but don't break. And that's why they have so many sacks on defense. That's why they have so many tackles on defense. That's why but they get a lot of turnovers too. And that's how. It's because it's a bend but don't break mentality. Okay, yeah, we'll let you get a field goal, but you got to avoid all of our guys flying around at high speed, and especially with the emergence of JPJ. I don't know, man. I take back what I said about Amari Cooper. I do. This is JPJ's first real test. DeAndre Hopkins was a good test. And then, going up against Christian Watson, and, he played pretty well against him. If JPJ shuts down Amari Cooper, the thing is, Amari Cooper is already not in a great spot. But with the emergence of JPJ, if he gets shut down, like if he's covered up and Dorian Thompson is throwing him the ball, JPJ might go get a couple turnovers too. Like I wouldn't be surprised if JPJ gets a pick.
Just the one thing I would say to counter that, because I do agree with what you're saying. I just think that Amari Cooper is also going to be like his go-to target, so he's going to get force-fed the ball, which is probably going to lead to some turnovers, but it's also going to lead to some yards, I think. Which he could get lucky and break off like a 20-yard run after the catch or something along those lines.
I'm kind of thinking touchdown not included. If Amari Cooper gets a touchdown, my statement's void. But I think his ceiling's 10 points this week.
No, I agree. I think so. Well, no, I don't think his ceiling's that, because I still think it's possible that he gets like 80 yards and a touchdown. Right? So I think his ceiling's more like 15.
I think 15, his hard ceiling's about 15. Range. Yeah, I think his hard ceiling's about 15.
I think his floor is probably going to be like 7 points, because I do think he's going to get that work. He's going to get yards and he's going to get those catches. And in a PPR league, those receptions provide you a lot of points. And if he gets like eight catches, but only like 50 yards, that's still a decent day.
13. Yeah, I was thinking his stat line's going to look something like 6 receptions, 40 yards, 5 catches, 50 yards. I think that's what his stat line looks like. And if he gets a touchdown on it, obviously he moves up to that 15, 16 point range. But that brings me to final statements. Are you ready to lock in a score on this game?
Yeah, I'm gonna say Steelers 31-10 is how I'm kind of feeling. I think it's gonna be kind of like a little bit of a blowout. Kind of what you were saying earlier. I think it's probably gonna be over in the first half, where that is very possible that they're up 21 at the halftime, kind of thing.
I'm doing a bold prediction.
Oh, what's that? I'm ready.
24-0.
You said this last week, I believe.
I said 2 weeks ago, and I was right. I called it. The Cardinals.
No, okay. No.
I said, what do eggs lay? Or what do birds lay? What do birds lay? What came first, the chicken or the egg? I don't know. I'm smoking crack.
Yeah, you made that pretty evident, my guy. It's okay, though.
Yeah.
We still love you.
Stands menacingly in the hallway.
Fucking wild.
Speaking of, what do birds lay? Eggs. Arizona goes to Houston to visit CJ Stroud in his MVP campaign and the Texans.
I think this could be another shutout almost. The Texans got a really good offense. They can score points. They've proven that. They can win those close games and grind them out, which they've proven in back-to-back weeks, mind you. In Arizona, I just don't think it's going to be up to the task, because Texans got a good front four, especially, and they got a good secondary. They are starting to click. They weren't really looking like this in the beginning, but as the weeks have gone on for the Texans, they've started to really gel and click together. So I'm excited to watch them play, and I think it's going to be a blowout.
You think it's going to be a blowout? So you have no faith in Kyler Murray keeping them alive here?
No, none. But, I mean, on the flip side, for the Arizona, Trey McBride looks like a stud to fucking play in fantasy, so
That's true. Trey McBride does look really good right now.
Exactly. So I think it is going to be like a 24-0 or 31-0 type game for the Texans to win. I think they're going to go up big early, and they're going to score with ease. Because there's no way that the Arizona is going to stop C.J. Stroud, Devin Singletary, Dameon Pierce, Noah Brown, Nico Collins, Tank Dell.
Yeah.
Arizona's not good enough to do that.
Noah Brown, do you think he is making a case to be a lock?
He's making a case to be by lock, you mean like matchup proof kind of thing?
Yeah.
I don't think so yet. I would like to see personally like 2 or 3 more games with this kind of production to be able to call him a lock. Because that's kind of what I look for, but I think he's a safe play, yes.
Yeah, so when I say lock, I'm saying like I think Noah Brown is the biggest like boomer bust lock in the NFL right now.
It's weird. It's weird to say that, but I would almost agree, because if I'm plugging him into my lineup, I'm feeling pretty good. I'm feeling confident. I'm like, hell yeah.
You know the risk you're taking. Like, there's a chance he comes out with 0 points. And it's a chance. But there's also a chance he comes out with 35 points.
Yeah, because like over the past 2 weeks especially, CJ Stroud has been getting him really involved.
Yep.
So, I mean, if he keeps on this, like, the math is mathing, and it says to start Noah Brown.
Exactly.
Okay, so let me ask you this then. Are you starting that trio of wide receivers?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think all 3 of them are a go. CJ Stroud's a lock. Singletary, I think, is good to go. I'm high on Singletary right now. I think James Conner is going to get work. I wouldn't start Kyler Murray this week. I'm not feeling good about Hollywood either.
What about McBride?
I'm cool with McBride. I feel like McBride's just going to get you your points every week. He's going to get he's in that really high end tier tight end production range where he's a lock for 7 points every week. And that's what you want out of your tight end, is to be guaranteed 7 points, but not necessarily to be having that high boom potential, which he has.
Right.
With a touchdown, that becomes 13, 14 points, and that's good at your tight end start, especially when you're not having an elite tight end like a Kittle or, a Kelsey, or an Andrews.
Yeah. And when I'm looking to start a tight end, not name those people, that's all I'm kind of looking for. It's like, give me 10 points and I'll be happy.
Exactly. Yeah.
Give me somewhere like 10 to 13 range, whatever. I'm cool with that.
110%.
I think that's all you can really look for without one of those top 4 guys. I would even throw Hawk in there too as well.
Yeah, he's proven that.
But yeah, without those top tight ends, you kind of just looking for that 10 points.
So you're thinking 31-0 Texans?
I think it's going to be an ugly game start to finish. Man, I think Kyler's probably going to have a couple turnovers. I think the Texans are a solid defense to play this week. I think they're worthwhile. Pick them off waivers and stream that team. I love streaming defenses, unless you have one of the elite defenses that get you those consistent sacks or interceptions, tackles for loss, that kind of thing, that get you those points. But it's an ugly game, man. The Cardinals are an ugly team right now. They don't look like they know how to play football. They look like a high school team right now. And okay, let me ask you this. What do you think they do with Kyler? Do you think they hang on to Kyler, or do you think they try and go, because of how deep this draft is going to be with quarterbacks, do you think they go out and try to get one and just put him behind Kyler for years till they can dump his contract?
We talked about this a bit yesterday. I don't think they have that option.
Yeah.
Like, I think you have to build around Kyler. And here's the thing, too. We give Kyler a lot of shit, but he has proven that he can win in the playoffs.
True.
Like,
I'll give you that one.
He has a playoff victory under his belt. We've seen him be very good. But also, like, the Cardinals are in a rebuild right now. And it's just one of those things where it's like, when you're in this, I bet you they sat down with Kyler and said, hey, we recognize the state of the team. We're willing to pay you this amount. And you need to give us faith that, we can build around you. And I bet you that was a conversation they had during contract discussion. And I'm sure Kyler's fully aware of it, and I'm sure that's why he was on injury for so long. They were like, it's fine. We want you at 100%. You can start playing when you're ready. This season, we're not worried about, but we want to be in playoff contention the next 2 or 3 years. And I think that's where the Cardinals are. And they have the cap space to make it work. They have the talent on certain positions to make it work. I was referencing the Texans this past offseason saying that they're scaping abysses in multiple positions. That's how the Cardinals feel. The Cardinals are a few pieces away from being a good team, and Kyler is a good enough quarterback, and he's proven that he can be a good enough quarterback to get you to the playoffs. Now, the question obviously prevails, is he going to get you a chip? I don't know about that yet. I don't know if that's even something that we could entertain, but if that's your question and that's the decision you're making when you're taking a guy like Bo Nix or the kid out of Washington, that's the pick that they're going to be getting more than likely, or Drake May. If a guy slides, that's when they would get him, but they're not going to get him in the top 10. They're going to utilize the pieces to, build around Kyler. And I think the whole thing that cements that opinion being their idea in the front office is the trade of Joshua Dobbs. Because if you wanted to go ahead and have a guy that was going to work behind Kyler and then you could dump him off, you already had that. You already had a guy who was playing good.
Yeah, it's on a cheap contract too. So I'm gonna read you the rest of the Cardinals schedule and just tell me how many times you would start Kyler. All right, so they got the Texans this week. We already talked about that. The Rams, Steelers, 49ers, Bears, Eagles.
Twice.
All right. What games? Steelers, Rams, and Bears?
Rams and Bears, yep.
That's kind of where I'm at. But I'm very iffy on starting him at all in any game, honestly. Until he actually puts some decent performances together. I'd be very scared.
Yeah, and I mean, the Texans are causing mayhem in the South, man. The Jags have a reason to be afraid.
Yeah, with that being the Texans out for blood right now. And I believe let me look at their schedule again real quick. Yeah, so they play the Jags after the Cardinals. So if the Jags lose both times to the Texans, that's a very, very different division. And that puts the Texans in the driver's seat almost for first place.
Yep. So it sure does. Oof. But you want to talk about ugly teams. Ooh, how about the Panthers hosting the Dallas Cowboys, who are also on a blood frenzy right now?
This is a game where I think it's going to be another old-fashioned ass whooping.
Yeah.
I don't think Carolina has any chance at winning this game.
There's a chance. There's a reason that they play the game.
Well, there's always a chance. There's always a chance, but it's not greater than like 15%.
I always say I always say that when I think it's going to be a badass whooping, there's a chance.
There is because
ESPN
any given
they
Sunday.
Got the matchup predictor at 15.6%. So they have it a little bit more than 15% according to ESPN.
Oh, I was close then. I was close. I'll take it.
Yeah, I don't know. There's not a lot to talk about here. Like the Thielen is a lot. I would start Thielen this week.
What about Bryce Young?
No. He's going to get sacked too many times. It's just what's going to happen. He's going to get sacked too many times, and it's going to ruin his fantasy stock. Even without the turnovers, I don't know even if he doesn't commit very many turnovers, he's going to get sacked too many times. And, if I'm Carolina, I'm not panicking about the Bryce Young experiment yet. I think he's got 2 full seasons left after this year before the panic button starts really setting in. But, it's the woes you're dealing with. Bryce Young is that supreme talent player. And we've seen this with several other players that are in that suite of talent, whether it be Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah. Imagine if the Colts gave up on Peyton Manning his first year, right? When he threw like 15 or 16 interceptions, it was just horrible. Yep. So that's why I always hate when you like it's fair to dog on a quarterback, but you can't just outright call him a bust or any really player for that matter after 1 year.
Yeah, unless it's
I
like
think
bad.
it has to be bad. But I
Yeah,
think each player at least deserves 2 years
Yeah.
to kind of see what you get from them. And then after that second year, if they're still not performing well, then that's when you can kind of question it. I'm cool with that because that's when I usually do it. And that's when the bust will kind of come into play. If they're bust or not, that conversation will start to happen if he's playing like this next year as well.
So, do you think if the Panthers finish around 500 next year, the discussion of Bryce Young being a bust will come up?
If they finish above 500 next year, that's what you said, yeah?
Around 500?
Around 500? That would
7
still,
and 9,
I mean,
9 and 7, types.
probably not. I don't think so because that would still be a hell of an improvement on this year. Right? If you go from really maybe at best 3 wins this year to 9 wins next year, that's a good improvement.
Yeah, I think like 7 and 9 wins is the target next year.
Yeah. Because I don't think they win any other games this year. I think they lose out. So going from 1 win to 7 wins or 1 win to 8 wins or whatever, I think that's a marketable improvement, and that it'll die down for sure.
Yeah,
Because for them to do that, they're gonna have to play well, but they're also gonna have to surround them with some more weapons.
And the Bears are kind of looking like masterminds right now. If the Panthers don't win another game this season, the Bears will have 2 of the top 5 picks at the trajectory it's going. And
they're currently projected the 2 and the 3.
The number 1 pick. Because they got that from the Panthers.
Now, okay.
Because the Cardinals won last week. The Cardinals were projected to be number 1 overall. Now they are projected to be number 2 or number 3. But the Bears are also in the top 5. I think they're at number 4 right now.
I'm looking it up right now. Yep. So the Bears are projected the number 1 and the number 5 right now.
Number 5. So and the thing is, you got to really sit down and be honest with yourself. Do you think it could go either way? Do you think the Justin Fields experiment is over?
It's hard to say, man. It really is, because you look at Justin Fields and you're like, that's a talented quarterback. But then you look at the weapons he has around him and you're like, it's hard to succeed in that.
Yeah, but also there's plays where you sit there and you watch Justin Fields and you're like, what the hell are you doing? So I think the Bears' best decision either way in this draft would not be drafting a quarterback. The reason being,
Marvin
Harrison being one. But another big reason is it's just like, okay, you have Justin Fields and you haven't really given him a fair shake, of good weapons and a good offensive line, but you can obtain those critical assets to move forward with and see if Justin Fields is that guy. And if he sucks again next year, then you could draft a quarterback and you don't have to pick him up. But you can go and extend him on that 5th year option and you get a cheap rookie deal. And then all of a sudden now the Bears have a really good fucking team, especially if they get Marvin Harrison. Is it unrealistic for us to say if the Bears get the number 1 overall pick from they have it from the Panthers via the Bryce Young trade? Let's say that the Bears do go and get Marvin Harrison, and they go and get a couple weapons or build the offensive line. They got a good offensive line. They need a new center and they probably need an upgrade at right tackle to be elite. But they do have pieces like Tevin Jenkins and shit that are elite. We'll highlight the more during the Bears and Lions game, but
what I want to happen right now is, I know we're getting a little sidetracked. We're taking a little side quest.
Yeah.
So that's fine. Is the Bears are probably going to, we obviously don't know what they're going to do with that number 1 pick. But I think there's a high chance that they trade back like they did last year. And I think the Patriots will be in the running for that. Because they're currently sitting at 4, so the Bears could trade back to the 4 spot and get a first or second or both next year, something like that. And then just reloading up.
Yeah.
that's when they could draft like the offensive lineman or Marvin Harrison or whoever they want to draft at that point, and then the Patriots can get their quarterback of the future, hopefully.
Yeah, and the Bears defense is pretty bad too. Eddie Jackson's a good safety, but like he's losing a little bit of speed, but at safety it's not as big of a deal as corner. But Eddie Jackson is a stud at safety. And they do have some pieces, but they could really transition into a really good team. And I think Justin Fields could be the answer. And I think the Bears are in a supreme position, considering that they have Justin Fields for 2 more years guaranteed if they want. And they don't necessarily need to move on from him yet. And because of that, you build your assets around him. I'm always of the philosophy that if you're building a dynasty team, the quarterback is the last position you pick. You get your occasional guys along the way, like your Peyton Mannings and your Trevor Lawrences that build through your franchise. Then you get guys that are occasionally like your Tom Brady's or your Brock Purdy's that don't get drafted high, but are just backup guys that end up taking on the role and playing good. And then you get guys like your Ben Roethlisbergers and your Phillip Rivers and your, and, your Eli Mannings, which all went to really good teams. Like, and those 3 quarterbacks that I just mentioned, those last 3 they were all out of the same draft class. They have 5 Super Bowl appearances, and they all went to good teams. Tom Brady had 6, obviously, but if we take Tom Brady out of that discussion specifically with the undrafted free agents or low draft pick guys, then all of a sudden now you're looking at like very few Super Bowl appearances. You're looking at like Doug Flutie and shit, but then like Dan Marino was another quarterback that went to a good situation immediately. And he made a Super Bowl appearance in his second season and then never went back. But, you don't need to have a quarterback that's been in the league for 5 years to make it to the Super Bowl. Several teams have proven that. And with that being said, like if I'm the Bears, I would take this time with Justin Fields, figure out if he is the guy and give him the assets that you need, a good defense and good receiving weapons. And I don't know if I would trade that first overall pick because there's a chance Marvin Harrison won't be on the board at number 4.
Yeah, the Giants are sitting right there at 3. And they need a legit weapon, a legit wide receiver 1 on their team, because right now it's just kind of mixing between the 2. But anyways, who are you starting from Dallas? Kind of reel it back in. No, you're good. I love that. Just trying to reel it back into the game.
Yeah.
Who are you starting from Dallas? And then, give me your starts for Dallas. Give me your starts from Dallas, and then give me your surprise start from the game. Someone you think who has boom potential.
So I'm sitting here and I'm like looking through it. Anybody that's wearing a star this week, I'd start. Gallup, Cooks, Lamb. I feel comfortable starting all of them. And I don't think any of them are sleepers at this point. Pollard, Dowdle, both been playing very good ball. Rico is going to be much more prevalent in the flex spot. We talked about it a little bit last episode. He is getting touches, and I think he is a good start at flex. Tony, he's a good RB2. I don't think he's quite cracked RB1 yet, but he's up there. Dak Prescott, I'm feeling very confident starting against this Panthers defense. I wouldn't be surprised if he has another 400-yard game.
Very possible.
And with that being said, you switch over to the Panthers side of the ball. I don't think you disagree on anything I just said, correct?
Nope. I'm cool with it.
Jake Ferguson.
That's why I didn't say anything, because I disagreed.
Yep. On the Panthers side of the ball, I would not start Bryce Young this week. Chuba Hubbard, I am not a big fan because Panthers are going to get behind early. They're going to be passing the ball a lot. And that's why I think Jonathan Mingo is going to be my sleeper for this week. I'm big on Thielen. He's a lock.
Jonathan Mingo.
Yeah.
I actually don't hate that. I don't hate that.
Jonathan Mingo, you're looking at the matchup discrepancies. Who he's going to be matching up with would be Jordan Lewis or Noah Igadamohini or whatever the fuck. He has one of those
I love the attempt.
weird last names that you know, got to go for it. I'm sorry I butchered it, but you know, and like Stephon Gilmore is going to be matched up against Adam Thielen or DJ Shark. They might put him against DJ Shark because he's more of the speed threat, and I wouldn't be surprised because the Cowboys are known to do that. They'll swing their corners around. But Stephon Gilmore, like, definitely could be matched up against DJ Shark. That opens up Adam Thielen. He might match up against Adam Thielen. Deron Bland would be able to cover Thielen pretty effectively, but I don't think he'll be able to cover Shark as effectively. So that's why I think the game plan for the Cowboys would be to switch them around. Because, you know, Thielen's just going to be a lock, 5 catches, 50 yards, maybe a TD. You know, he's just a lock for that. You know, and you recognize that if you're a defense, you let him get that. But the thing is, you know, you look behind him and, you know, Jordan Lewis is probably going to be the guy that's going to be playing man-to-man against Jonathan Mingo. And I wouldn't be surprised if Jonathan Mingo goes out and gets like 8 targets, 4 catches, 60 yards. And if he gets a touchdown on top of that, that's 16 points.
Make a good argument. What's your final score? What do you think it's going to be? You think it's going to be an ass whooping from hell?
Yeah, I think it's going to be like 42, 14, 17 Panthers. Or Cowboys, excuse me.
I was about to say, you got some explaining to do. I got some questions.
What the fuck were you just talking about for the last 10 minutes, Shane?
Were you just fucking with me hardcore and you just wanted a plot twist, a major plot twist?
Yeah, no, not quite.
I'm kind of on the same boat. I think it's gonna be 40. Okay, hold on. I want to look at the over/under. I want to see what the over/under is real quick. So currently it's 42.5.
I take the over on that.
If it goes over, it's only because of Dallas and nothing to do with Carolina, because I think Carolina scores no more than 10 points. Yeah. So I'm going to go 42-10.
42-10. We both have Dallas taking 42 points on them.
Yeah, I think they're going to score often and they're going to score often and easy. I think.
But
talk about like to that good. Oh, wait. Hold on. What were you going to say?
I want to put a pause real quick. I want to hear what you're going to say. So after you finish that, I want to talk about Super Bowl relevance for teams. What were you going to say?
No, go for it. No, go for it.
Okay. So what
I was just going to transition to the next game. That's all.
Top 5 Super Bowl teams right now.
Hold on. I'm actually going to put that in the chat. Let's see. Interactivity and questions. Top 5 Super Bowl.
Because.
There we go. Okay.
I mean.
No, I was just setting up that question in Facebook.
Yeah, for sure.
So, for me, I'm going to go starting on the AFC side of things. I think it's going to be like the Chiefs. I think the Dolphins can get there. The Jags have at times looked like they could. I think the Eagles could be that team. The Lions, at this point, I fully believe they are capable of that.
Me too.
Because they've had some tough games. But the 49ers, I think.
They're good.
I just listed like 7 teams, but.
You said no AFC North teams.
Yeah, I don't think they're getting to Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's fair.
Well, I said the Ravens.
No, you didn't.
I said I think the Ravens could. Oh, maybe I didn't, but I swear I did. I think the Ravens from the AFC North have the best chance. Because I remember last night you said some bullshit like whoever wins between the Steelers and Browns is going to the Super Bowl.
Yes, sir.
I was like, okay.
Deshaun Watson's out for an IR injury.
I think they're both good teams, but I don't think they're Super Bowl caliber. I don't think they can make it that far.
So,
but also no one thought the Giants would way back when. So who knows? True. Who fucking knows, man?
Hey, you know, my list right now is going to go in this order: Lions, Cowboys, Chiefs, Eagles, and Steelers.
Oh my! Of course, you put the Steelers on there.
There's an actual reason with the Steelers. The reason being is they're a smash mouth team, and they are kind of the smash mouth team this year. So, you know, they are of a different breed of every other team in the NFL right now. No team is going to be grinding teams like the Steelers are. And that gives them that benefit. I think the Ravens are actually relevant in that topic. The Browns, I don't think are relevant in the topic anymore. If this was yesterday, if we were talking about this yesterday, I would put the Browns in that discussion. And I think the Vikings are a sleeper.
Oh, that was we said at the same time. We said because I was thinking that because like if Josh Dobbs keeps playing like that, bro, like they might because currently they're sitting at the 7th seed, so like Josh Dobbs keep balling out.
Oh yeah, bro. Josh Dobbs versus the Steelers in the Super Bowl,
Oh yeah, dude. It's like it was kind of funny because I think it was like the when Josh Dobbs had that rushing touchdown late in the game, this Vikings head coach looked very confused because that wasn't exactly the play design. And Josh Dobbs just went with it, and I fucking love it. I'm here for it.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised. I could see the Vikings being that sleeper team.
Yeah, makes Joshua Dobbs is
at least the title game. And not even just that, but they have a lot of good offensive weapons.
Yeah.
Too. Especially if they get Michael Carter too, as with Madison. And then they got an okay defense.
We haven't seen Joshua Dobbs with Justin Jefferson yet.
Mm.
And he's already playing that good. He's already playing this good without JJ.
Dude, JJ and then Jordan Addison together on the field at the same time is going to be a fun thing to watch.
And the thing is, like, we haven't seen JJ and Addison together really since Addison came into his own.
Mm-hmm.
Like, pretty much Addison came into his own the week that JJ got injured. And it was like, oh, he stepped up. But now it's like, oh, no, he's not just stepping up. He's legit. And
he's that good.
Yeah.
That's kind of what we're starting to say. Not to really tangent too much, but that's kind of what we're saying about Jaden Reed now with the Packers.
Yeah.
He's overcoming Romeo Doubs and Christian Watson and is coming into his own. But I'm very excited to watch Joshua Dobbs in this future team. And at the end of the year, especially if he takes you to the title game. That's how I would probably say at least the title game. It's very hard not to re-sign him and just let Kirk Cousins walk.
Yeah.
It'd be a very hard decision to make because you know that, like, especially that cap space, Joshua Dobbs is going to take up a lot less than Kirk Cousins.
For sure. So what about Jacksonville? How do you feel about them? Do you think that they're an actual contender?
I don't think they're a threat.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't. I think they make the playoffs and then lose in the divisional type.
I think that's about
thing.
Their ceiling too. I think they're divisional.
I think it's very possible that they fall to the wild card and then lose in the wild card round. I don't think that's out of the realm of possibilities because if the Texans keep playing like this and then the Jags keep playing like they have been, it's very possible that they don't win the divisions and the Texans overtake them.
100%.
Because they play again in 2 weeks.
Talking about the division, AFC South matchup, Tennessee visits Duval this week. And now this is a game that, this should be an easy win for the Jags, but it's also a must win, I feel like.
Especially with how hot the Texans are playing.
The Texans are creeping. They're scary. I don't want the Texans to make the playoffs, bro. Like, with my Steelers on the horizon of being in the playoffs, I do not want to play the Texans. I'd rather play the Jaguars, even though the Jaguars own the Steelers in the playoffs.
The Texans are a sneaky good team. Yeah. And I don't think they're getting enough respect because they're going to win this week. They're going to win this week. They're going to go 6-4. Mm-hmm. And if the Jags lose, they're also 6-4. But the Texans currently own the tiebreaker.
Mm-hmm.
So they would be bumped up to first place.
And I think they have one more date later this season. I think it's in 2 weeks.
Week 13.
Yep. So in 2 weeks. So, and if the Texans win that game, then they lock it, essentially. They lock that tiebreaker and they go ahead and lock in the division. I think, they go win.
Week 12, sorry. They play the Jags.
Oh, so next week. So it's next week.
Yep.
Yep. But, Titans, we talk a lot about the Jags, but Titans, are you starting Will Levis this week?
Yes. I think I'm feeling pretty confident. I think the Jags, to me right now, the Jags look just out of it and tired.
They look flat.
They look stale. Yeah, like you said, flat. They look stale. They don't look like they're really in it. The offense looks pretty good, but they also have some good weapons on that side. But specifically on the defensive side of the ball, they just look tired. They just look flat. They kind of just look like they're out of it, and they're just showing up to show up.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think the Jags have the potential and the talent and the coaching to get them far into the playoffs.
Me too.
It's just, are they actually going to play up to their potential or play down to their opponent?
Mm-hmm.
Which is a lot of what they've been doing, to me at least, when I watch them. And that's kind of what I'm like, that's kind of just why I say that I would not be surprised if they lose in the wild card.
Mm-hmm. I think they are a playoff team.
6 or 7.
But, it's tough, especially with how good the North's playing. If Cincinnati wins this week, that could end up being the Jaguars' worst nightmare. Because then that puts the Baltimore Ravens in, like, that puts the whole AFC North, like, back in the wild card. And you're, other than the Browns, probably, like, you're probably going to get one spot because the Browns are probably going to fall out because Watson's down. That's just the reality of the situation. So now you're looking at one wild card spot, and it's like, okay, but now we're competing with teams like, Miami, the Bills. One of those teams are probably going to be shooting for a wild card spot.
The Raiders could still make it into
Raiders,
that.
and
they're 5-5.
Dare I say, don't look back now, but the Broncos and the Raiders.
The Broncos been surging.
Yeah.
They've been surging. But, I mean, they also – we'll get into that game a little bit, but there's some tough competition, especially if the Jags keep tumbling. And I believe they don't have an easy schedule left. Let me double-check. I want to double-check their schedule. So, say they played the wrong week. Titans, Texans, Bengals, Browns, Ravens, Bucks. So, like, they definitely got – that Texans game is going to be very pivotal. That's almost going to decide the division winner, potentially.
Because they got a tough Texans team. They got tough Bengals, tough Ravens, a good Buccaneers defense, and Baker Mayfield has proven that he can win against tough opponents.
I would also argue the Browns are a tough team purely because of that defense now.
True.
That defense is very good, and it could keep them in that game.
I think it keeps them alive, especially if, the Jaguars fuck around too much.
Which is what we saw from them last week against the 49ers.
They fucked around a lot.
They only scored 3 points.
They found out.
They really did. Do you have any sleepers for this game?
I mean, I don't know what we could consider a sleeper. Is Christian Kirk considered a sleeper at this point?
Maybe. I would consider
Tank Bigsby
Dell
might get some work.
Tank Bigsby. Why did I say Tank Dell?
Yeah, Tank.
Oh,
Tank.
Jesus Christ. Just Tank. Yeah, the guy I wanted in the rookie draft. So sad.
Yeah. Sad.
Yeah, because I would maybe say Treylon Burks because he's questionable right now, but if he plays, he wouldn't be a bad start. Definitely someone that has some of that boom potential that could get you over the hump, get you 10 to 15 points. What's your final score?
I'm kind of thinking 24-13 Titans.
24-13 Titans. Wow.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
I almost don't hate it because I want the Jags to lose because I want the Texans to win that division so badly now. Because
I feel like the Jags are feeling the pressure.
I think the Titans do win. I think it's going to be like a 24-21 type game.
Bro.
Or maybe like a 24-17 type game.
That was supposed to be my diverse pick from you. You just fucking
well, because like I would not be surprised. I almost expect the Titans to win because I think the Jags are just playing so horribly right now and they're in a bad slump. But this could also be the Jags like get right game, so to speak. You know, so I wouldn't be surprised if they win, but I don't count on them winning. I don't think they're going to win, but I think it's going to be a very close game because no team is good enough at this point just to blow them out.
Hear me out. So this is the Titans' remaining schedule. I'm going to sound like a crackhead, but they got Jacksonville this week.
Mm-hmm.
They win this week. They move up to 4 wins. They got Carolina next week. They move up to 5. Mm-hmm. They got the Colts, which is a tough game, but they somehow managed to figure that out. They move up to 6 wins. Dolphins, they're probably not going to win, so they stay at 6 wins.
Probably not.
If they split with the Texans, because they play them twice, they move up to 7 wins. They beat Seattle somehow, and they sweep Jacksonville. They're at 9 wins. And that could be enough to get you in.
Potentially, yeah.
And
so they could be a fringe playoff team.
Yeah, like they could turn the ship around still, especially if they do go and get a tough win against Miami and they sweep Houston. If they sweep Houston, they might win the division. It's not out of the realm of possibility.
I think it is. I don't think they have any shot at winning the division, personally. I mean, of course, it's always 5%. Possible. Of course, it's always possible. Because at this point, I think they have to win out to make the playoffs and go 10-6 or 11-6.
Right.
I don't think they're going to do that, but I think they probably move up to like the 9 or 10 spot. Mm-hmm. I think it's plausible with those 8 wins.
And here's the thing too. Like, Will Levis has proved that he is so much better than Tannehill over these last 3 weeks. Like, it's day and night watching that offense. Like, Tannehill has a little bit of the statistic edge. Sure, whatever, may have you. But that offense looks alive with Levis there, comparatively to Tannehill, where it was looking Jacksonville-esque, where it's stale.
Right. Yeah, they couldn't move the ball.
Yeah, at all. Like, while Tannehill started, 2 of their games, they only scored 3 points. And you just can't do that. Sure, last week they lost to the Bucs and only scored 6, but, Henry got shut down and the running attack got shut down, so I don't really put that on Levis. But, the running attack getting shut down cannot happen. You need to make it so you need to grind the ball so that it's not shut down, because you need to open the playbook. And we seen what that looks like when they played the Falcons and Levis went and had a career game. But then they follow up and lose to Steelers and Bucs. It puts them in a tough spot. But they could turn this thing around, and have a winning record at least, and leave a little bit with their pride.
I agree.
Speaking of teams and their pride, and how close they could be to the playoffs, how about the Raiders going and visiting Vice City?
What a loss this is going to be for the Raiders.
You think so?
I love Aiden O'Connell. I think he has a bright future. I think he's probably the best thing for that team. But, man, the Dolphins just have too much firepower. I don't think the Raiders are capable of competing with that.
I think that there's one way that the Raiders are going to end up winning this game, and one way only, and that's going to be playing mean, grindy football.
I think the Raiders win?
I think the Raiders could win. Yeah, I'm betting on the Raiders to win this week. I'm kind of thinking, Raiders 24-14.
See, I'm thinking Dolphins 31-17.
The reason I'm saying the Raiders is because routinely Josh Jacobs just gets insanely hot at this point in the season for no good reason.
Fair.
I think the Dolphins are the obvious pick, but once I start to analytically start thinking all the way through why the Dolphins are the obvious pick, I start to lean more towards the Raiders. With Jacobs and being so grindy, and with how the Chiefs beat the Dolphins, they proved that you can halt the Dolphins by slowing them down, keeping TOP over them. If the Raiders play smart football, I wouldn't be surprised to see them win, and that's why I'm betting on it.
Who are you starting from the Raiders then?
Jacobs is going to be RB1 this week. I think he's going to be the best running back in the NFL this week. I wouldn't be against starting O'Connell. He just needs to play smart football. He doesn't need to play good football. So I'm cool with O'Connell getting the nod. I think that in Superflex leagues, he's a good QB2. But, Devontae Adams, I'm comfortable with. Jacoby Myers, I'm feeling pretty comfortable with. And I think Michael Mayer might be a realistic start. I think he's kind of proving that he is good enough to start week in, week out.
You know what? I think I agree with you. I don't really have any problems with that. And then on the Dolphin side of the ball, obviously Tyreek Hill, Tua. I'd probably start Jalen Waddle. But how confident are you starting any of those running backs from the Dolphins? Or are you just kind of staying away from it?
I'm not feeling too confident in the Dolphins' offense this week. Their whole offensive line is questionable. They're coming off injury. Raheem Mostert's coming off injury. Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle are still looking good, but it's just one of those things where they're playing a good Raiders defense, and because of that, I'm hesitant to even play any of them. Tyreek is obviously a lock. Tua is a lock. We were talking about the running backs. I don't really see starting a running back this week as being a very valuable option.
Okay, so you're basically staying away from them then.
Yep.
Okay. I don't disagree with that. However, I do think I think the potential is there for those running backs to get some work. I just don't think it's going to happen. But if they get up big, like I think they're going to, then they're probably just going to grind the ball, and I think that's where a lot of those points are going to come for those running backs.
Our philosophy of how we're looking at this game is different. That's why we're having different results. I could see it going the way that you're saying, and I'm sure you could see it the way I'm saying it's going to go. Because of that, the Raiders go up early. Josh Jacobs goes ahead and grinds the ball, gets about 200 yards total, gets 2 touchdowns. I think that's how this game's going to play out, and then they're going to choke the Dolphins out.
Damn.
This is a must-win for the Raiders. And Josh Jacobs steps up big. Every year he does. And why is this year different?
He's a second-half player.
Yep.
Traditionally second-half player.
Yep.
I like it. All right, so kind of because we were touching...
Go ahead.
I would say because we were talking about the Bears team earlier, so let's go ahead and jump into the Bears and Lions. Do you think this is going to be an ass whooping from hell?
Yeah. I mean, I'm thinking 50-0 Bears.
Hey, hold on.
No.
You just said what?
No, I'm just kidding.
I almost said I could agree. Then you said Bears. I was like, how to do a double take.
Pause. 42.
Do a double take.
42-14 is what I'm kind of thinking.
It's going to be an easy game. They're going to score at will, I think, against the Lions. I mean, the Bears.
Yeah, me too.
I could see 42-14. I think it's going to be more like, I'm going to say 48-20 type game.
Lions, of course.
Yeah, or Bears, maybe they'll spice it up. 48-20 the Lions. I think the Lions are going to get a couple field goals too on top and then call it good. They're never going to feel the pressure. Really. They're never going to feel like they're losing the game. I don't think they're going to hold the lead the whole game. They're just going to score early and often and just do what they want with that team.
100%.
That's kind of where I'm at.
So, according to ESPN, the Dolphins have a 90% chance to beat the Raiders. The Lions have a 68.8% chance to beat the Bears.
That's wild.
Yeah. I think that's ass backwards.
Yeah, because the Raiders are a better team than they're giving credit for.
Yeah.
I think at this point, I think the Lions should be at that 90% mark and not the Dolphins.
Yeah, me too. Because the
Kind of
Bears
problems
aren't that great of a team.
No.
They're just not.
So speaking of the Bears, then who are you starting from the Bears?
Moore.
Of course.
That's it.
Is he kind of like an auto start for you then?
Yeah, I think at this juncture. He's a good wide receiver too.
I like it. What about any of the running backs though from the Bears? Willing to take a risk on them?
No, because they're going to be behind. They're going to get behind. They're going to be forced to throw the ball. Now, with that being said, you start looking at their tight end positions.
Cole Kmet might be a sneaky good play.
Cole Kmet might be a solid start. Darnell Mooney might go ahead and have himself a day. But, Foreman, I'm not feeling very confident on. Justin Fields, I think, could start. But, you got to understand that he's going to be going to get sacked probably 3 times and probably throw 2-3 picks. But he might be able to overcome that with the amount of yardage he's going to be forced to throw. He's probably going to have 250 yards minimum passing in this game just because he's going to be throwing the ball 40, 50 times. And I wouldn't be surprised if he gets 50, 60 yards on the ground, has a 300-yard type day and maybe a touchdown, and 2 sacks, 2 turnovers. I think that's probably the Justin Fields stat line this week.
I like it. What about from the Lions side of things?
Oh, man. The Lions are loaded up on fantasy players, man.
Are you starting Jahmyr Gibbs and Devonta and David Montgomery?
Yeah, if you got the handcuffs, start both of them. I start Jahmyr Gibbs this week either way. I think Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be more profitable than Montgomery. St. Brown, obviously, stud. Jameson Williams, I think, might have his coming out party this week, though.
You think so? It's a perfect spot.
He posted the most wild picture on Instagram the other day. Did you see it?
No. What do you say?
He puts Oreo McFlurries on his McDoubles, bro. Yeah, bro.
That's wild.
He puts down his cheeseburgers.
Hey, you know what? To each their own.
Speaking of cheese,
Oreo McFlurry.
I can't make this shit up, bro. Chargers Packers.
That blows my mind. I'm still stuck on that Oreo McFlurry.
I was shell shocked when I seen it, bro. It gave me PTSD. I haven't slept in 3 days because of it.
How did he even come up with that? I want to know. Did he just randomly decide one day that this would be good?
I hope not, bro.
Maybe, I don't know, man. Maybe while he was suspended, he was just getting wild.
Lions Jameson Williams roasted for unhinged McDonald's creation. Should be illegal.
It is slightly unhinged, but I mean, to each their own. If he likes it, he likes it, I guess. I mean,
hey, bro, I've never tried 100 receiving yards and a touchdown this week, or else I'd cut him. I'd cut him if I was the GM for that shit, bro. That's worse than anything Antonio Brown ever did, or Henry. No, I'm not gonna say that one. Because
I would say chill, bro. I've never tried it, so I can't knock him too much.
That was a little unhinged. That was actually a little unhinged. That joke was.
Yeah, but that's fine. We'll forget about that. We'll forget you even said that. A little too far. All right, Chargers Packers. How we feeling? How we feeling?
By the way, just so I could see YA, obviously a joke. Henry Ruggs is a piece of shit human being.
He got what he deserved.
Yep, he got his dues.
Chargers Packers. How you feeling? What are you thinking about?
I'm thinking going Chargers through your mind this game. Getting that out of the way. I don't think.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a discussion, really. I think Chargers are just going to be better than Packers. I wouldn't start Jordan Love this week. I'm not feeling too confident in him. It could end up being a shootout. Yeah. I think the reason I don't start Jordan Love is I think he's going to be turnover heavy, but I think he's going to get a lot of yards. Christian Watson, Jayden Reed, I'm feeling pretty good about.
What about Romeo Dobbs?
Romeo Dobbs is probably going to be an okay flex.
I'm not somebody confident in that, yeah.
I'm not confident, just because like I think Christian Watson and Jaden Reed are going to go ahead and get the nods.
That's fair.
I think that this will be a close scoring affair, and I think Justin Herbert will be a stud this week. Obviously Michael Thomas. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not going there again.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not. I made the mistake.
So I mean, from the Chargers side of the ball, obviously you're starting Justin Herbert.
Yeah.
Keenan Allen, Austin Eckler.
Yep.
Is there anyone else you're going to go for on the Chargers side?
Gerald Everett gets the nod. I'd probably go with him. Jair Alexander is supposed to be playing this week. If he doesn't, then this game gets a lot uglier. But
right.
Christian Watson's supposed to be coming back. Yeah, fast. Yeah, true. Rudy Ford is supposed to be back too. I think that this is going to be a closer game than it should be. I'm really thinking like a 27-23 victory for the Chargers.
See, I'm feeling like 35-20 Chargers. I think Justin Herbert's going to have another 3 to 4 touchdown passes, and Austin Eckler gets at least one, maybe two.
What did you say that you thought the final score was going to be?
35-20.
35-20.
Yeah,
awesome.
I think it's going to be an ugly little game.
Me too. I think it's going to be grindy. I think it's going to be a grindier game. I think this would be a fun game to watch, as a fan of football.
It could be. It could be one of those like down to like kind of like how the Packers and Steelers game was last week.
Mm-hmm.
Come down to that final drive with 10 seconds left. It could come down to that. I just don't personally think it will. I guess it's kind of where I'm at.
I think the Packers are a sneaky good team. I don't think they're a playoff team, but I think they're a team that competes week in, week out.
Yeah, I just think they just need Jordan Love to play better.
Mm-hmm.
Frankly, like they could be one of those playoff teams that could make it to the divisional round or something like that.
Imagine if the Packers got a top 5 pick though, and they went and got Marvin Harrison,
or if they drafted a new quarterback.
Yeah, they could. But imagine if they got Marvin Harrison.
I mean, damn good pickup. But if I'm the GM, I'm already liking the wide receiver trio that I have currently.
Yeah, but Marvin Harrison elevates that to a different level.
It does, but so does a new quarterback.
Hypothetically, but not guaranteed. With Harrison, you're guaranteed that you're going to be getting away better.
No players guaranteed. Thank you very
Marvin
much.
Harrison is about as damn close as guarantee I was wide receiver, as a first round wide receiver as you can get. Name a better wide receiver prospect coming out of college.
Myself. End of story. Boom.
Yeah. By the way, how did your flag football game go today?
Hey, bro, chill. Hey, chill, bro. We didn't have to bring personal stuff into this. Even though I started it, we still didn't have to go there.
Hey. I'm sorry about
but no,
that.
I think you're kind of on the right track. But I think if they do get that high, the expected pick is Marvin Harrison. Mm-hmm. But I don't think that's necessarily the right pick for them.
Mm-hmm.
Even though, like, if he's there, it's hard to pass on him.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like how it's hard to pass on Bijan for the Falcons.
Yeah.
If he's there, it's how do you say no? Because he is that otherworldly talent and that generational talent at wide receiver. But at the same time, you're looking at like what Jordan Love has done this year. I don't know.
Jordan Love.
But look at me. Look at me going back on my word of saying 2 years at least. But I don't know, man. I would. If I was that high for the Packers, I would honestly trade back. If I'm the Packers, trade back, load up on draft capital, try and get a first round out of it for next year. And if Jordan Love does tank again and not do well next year, at least you have some extra first rounds to try and get it a quarterback.
Just like I was saying earlier with the Bears, they are in a similar position. They both have 3 wins.
Right.
So, I think the smart move is to build a team around them. and just ride Jordan Love. But I don't think Jordan Love has as much potential as Justin Fields with what he's shown.
And I would agree. So that's why I kind of say that the Packers should trade back if they end up doing like a top 5 pick, because the team will jump on it.
Yeah.
There will be a team that
like the
trade for it.
Giants. You know, like I wouldn't be surprised if the Giants went ahead and did something like the Texans did this past season, going and getting like 2 top 5 picks. And that leads us into the next game. You know, Giants go and visit the
Commanders.
Commanders.
Thank you. Thank you.
What else would I have said?
Anyways, the Giants. Daniel Jones, yeah.
Our football game.
Oh my god. I think I love Sam Howell. I believe in him. He's played well this year. I think he's played better than expected. And I think this is going to be another Commanders win.
Yeah, Sam Howell, you know, he's leading the NFL in passing yards at this juncture.
He's looking like the Commanders quarterback of the future, right? Yeah. He's looking like that franchise type quarterback.
Yep, I was high on him coming out. He has proven that he's solid. He's really good, and not just solid. He's good. You know, Scary Terry is proving that, you know, he's just as good as we thought he was. And we were sitting there and saying, he just needs a good quarterback. He just needs a good quarterback. We finally see he's got a good quarterback, and he's on pace to get, you know, like about 1,100 yards this season. And, you know, he's only on pace for like 4 touchdowns, but, you know, wide receivers and touchdowns, you know, you can't really build their whole stat line off touchdowns.
No, but I mean, he looks good. He's running good routes. Like you said, he's on pace for 1,100 yards, which is good.
Yeah.
He's getting those run after the catches too as well, which is huge.
Yep. Do you start Brian Robinson this week?
Yes.
Me too.
I think probably would if I had him, and then just based off of how he played last week, I'd be like, why not?
Fuck it, why not? What about Gibson?
Nah. I don't think you can start him in any possibility.
Yeah.
Until he overtakes Brian Robinson, you can't start him.
Yeah. They're not running
the ball enough. That has to be like no, they're not. Starting Gibson would be a super, 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 super desperation play.
Yeah.
I think at this point in time. He's got the skill set to be that kind of running back for you, but he's not getting the workload, and Brian Robinson has earned that RB1 role for them. But for the Giants, who are you starting? Are you starting really anyone confidently outside of Saquon?
Waller?
Solid pick.
Yeah. Nothing else, really. I don't really want to start no one else.
Not even Danny Dimes?
I'm not. Do I look like Ben?
Yeah, I mean...
I know I'm a fat fuck, but, you know.
Okay, I wasn't going to say that. I was not going to say that.
No, I'm sorry, Ben, if you're watching this. It's all love. I'm just picking on you.
That's okay. I pick on him too, so it's fine. But no, I kind of think you just hit it right on the head. It's really Saquon and nothing this game.
Yeah.
For the Giants.
Waller should get some production.
I mean, you could start Waller, yeah. You could honestly start Daniel Jones because there's worse options out there, I would say.
But I think Daniel Jones is like a top 20 option with a 15 ceiling. You know, so that's why I'm not really like, I want to start him. You know, I'd rather start Kenny Pickett this week. I think Kenny Pickett is the perfect, like, standard, you know, because he's not throwing a lot of turnovers. He's not throwing for a ton of touchdowns. He's not throwing for a ton of yards, but he's consistently, like, around, you know, 200-ish yards, a touchdown, and no picks. So, you know, like, okay, cool. You know, like.
Yeah, Daniel Jones will probably get you, I'm gonna say like 13 points this week, so it's not bad. And if you have a quarterback on the bye week, sure, plug him in, pick him up off waivers if he's there. It's worth starting because, like I said, there's worse options out there, especially on the waiver wire.
Right.
You know, what do you think the final score is?
I'm thinking like 27-21 Commanders.
I must say 24-10 Commanders. That's kind of how I'm feeling.
That slides us into our next game of the week, which is Bucks 49ers.
Easy 49ers win.
Yeah. I don't think there's much to talk about here. Start who you start in. It's obvious.
You're starting anyone that you can get on the 49ers.
Yep.
And on the Bucs side, you're Baker, as much as I hate to say it, he's been a solid fantasy start.
100%.
So I'd probably start him. Maybe Rachaad White, but definitely Mike Evans. And you can make an argument for Chris Godwin.
Right.
Out there. 49ers, obviously you're starting Brock Purdy, I would say. CMC, Kittle, Debo. What about Ayuk?
I think he's going to get a few targets. I think he's going to get like 6 targets this game.
Mm-hmm.
Probably 5 receptions, 4 receptions, 60 yards. And if he gets a touchdown, then that makes it all worth it.
Yeah, it just skyrockets from there. Right?
Yeah.
So, like, this 49ers offense especially just has so much potential and so much weapons that it's very possible that they all just go off and have fantasy relevance all in the same game. We've seen it before. So I wouldn't be surprised if it happens again this time.
Yeah.
That's kind of why I think it's going to be an ugly score at the end of it. The 49ers are going to end up winning by like 24 points, I think. Something like a 34. I think it's going to be like a 34 to 13 type of win for them. I think they're going to have no issue and just going to be smooth sailing the whole time for them.
Yeah. I got 27-20. Reason being, 49ers are really good.
You need Jesus right now with that statement.
Hey, man, this is a must win for the Bucs. They're in a division that they definitely could win.
I want to hear an explanation, please.
Yeah. So Baker has been playing really well. Brock Purdy.
As much as I hate to say it, yeah, he has. Because I hate Baker. I've said that so many times.
I feel like Brock Purdy is more boom or bust than Baker, which, with the Browns, it was the other way around. With Baker on the Bucs, he's been just really consistent. And from a GM perspective, I'd rather have Brock Purdy as my quarterback, but in this specific matchup, I don't know, man. Something tell me that the Bucs are going to just be able to take care of business. They have a good enough defense to go ahead and slow down Brock Purdy. We've seen Brock Purdy get kind of solved in 2 of the last 3 weeks. And if the Bucs are able to do that efficiently, then I think that they're going to take care of business. Rachaad White can go out and have a really good game. Baker Mayfield could have a good game. And I could see it, I think it's going to be more competitive than people are wanting to peg it up for.
Hey, man, that's what we thought about the Jags last week. And look how that turned out.
Hey, but, every dog has their day.
That's true. I just don't think it's Baker's day. Because
that's fair.
I hate Baker. And I will continue to hate Baker and hope for his downfall. Anyways, Jets Bills.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think this is the Bills' bounce back game?
No.
Do you think they slide to 5-6?
Yes.
Yes. I only don't have a problem with that because Zach Wilson has been playing pretty decent ball.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
He hasn't really been turnover prone like we saw last year.
Mm-hmm.
He's taking care of the ball a lot better this year. He's not making those rush throws, which is what we saw a lot of last year. That's why he threw so many interceptions. He was just rushing the read and getting the ball out. And he's improved on that a lot this year. The Bills, the past couple of weeks have been playing really bad and not playing good. They've been very mistake prone and just kind of laggy in a way. So it's kind of been, God, I'm really torn on this one because I want to say the Bills. because I think they're the better team.
The Bills are the better team.
But I just don't think they play better. But I think they play well enough to get the win, and I think it's going to be an ugly win, like 20-17.
Okay.
I think it's going to be a very low-scoring game, and it's going to be a game you're going to want to take the under on as well.
Me too. I'm thinking like 21-14.
Who are you starting from the
Jets.
Bills?
I mean, you got to start Stephon Diggs. You just got to. Like,
he's out of like matchup proof at this point. Like,
yeah,
he's been Josh Allen proof.
Josh Allen's still going to go and get you your points. He's still going to. Mm-hmm. But I got 21-14 Jets because I think Zach Wilson is going to be able to get the job done. I think Breece Hall is going to have a field day. On the Bills side of the ball, like Dalton Kincaid might be worth looking at, but that's it. Like, I don't think it's going to be a high scoring affair. So, like touchdown reliant players like Gabe Davis aren't going to be necessarily as great.
What about from the Jets?
Jets side of the ball, I'm kind of thinking start Zach Wilson this week.
Would you start both Breece Hall and Dalvin Cook?
No, just Breece Hall. Just Breece Hall. Yeah, and
so what?
Probably Garrett too.
Garrett would be a good start. I don't have a problem with that. So, okay. What would Dalvin have to do for you to want to start him and Breece Hall?
Are you talking that like he's getting 10 plus touches a week?
Okay. So like
he needs to get 10 touches a week. Yeah.
Then okay.
Because if he does, then I'm cool with it. But like, we need to see 2 or 3 weeks of consistency of him getting 10 plus touches.
And he's just not getting that. Like, 'cause there's been many times where the Jets as a team have only rushed like 15 times.
Yeah.
Right. And those were in some close games.
3 of them being like Zach Wilson running out of the pocket.
Right. Being on those scrambles type thing or those QB design runs. So I think if the Jets do win this, it's because they rush early and often.
Yeah.
Right. I think that's their moneymaker. I think that's how they control the game, and that's how they win and put that pressure on the Bills. And as we've talked about before, the best way to get Josh Allen to make those mistakes is to get in his face and put pressure on him.
Yep.
And the Jets have the ability to do that, not just through game tempo, but also through that front seven.
Exactly. Like, the Jets' defense is good enough to carry them to this win. And this is a big win for the Jets. This makes it so they get into playoff relevance. They moved to 5-5. And you slide above the Bills, and you're looking into a wild card spot. This is a must win for both teams, but I think that the Jets prove that they want it more because I think that they do.
I would agree. Talk about wanting it more. Seahawks versus Rams. A nice little game. Who are you starting from the Seahawks?
Man. I'm thinking Seahawks. I'm cool with Geno. I'm cool with Kenneth. DK's a lock every week. Tyler Lockett, I'm feeling pretty good about because I think that JSN? This is going to be like a 38-10 blowout.
What about JSN?
JSN, I'm cool with.
How confident are you, though?
70% sure he'll produce more than 10 points.
Okay, so very confident then, I would say.
Yeah.
I could see that. I wouldn't be surprised. I thought JSN would break out earlier than because he hasn't really broke out this year, really. I thought he would become a bigger part in the offense by like week 8 or so, and we haven't really been seeing that. But I think this is a game where the Seahawks do score plenty of points to kind of keep those 3 wide receivers relevant. And then Kenneth Walker is going to do what he does on the ground. He's going to hit you in the mouth, but then he's also going to break it out wide for 15, 20 yards.
Run through a motherfucker's face.
Yeah. He will, and then he's going to bounce it outside too as well. So, like, he does it all, which is why I think the Seahawks win. Like, we're going to say 27-17 is kind of where I think the Seahawks win. On the Rams side of the ball, I think you start Puka, you start Cooper Kupp, Matthew Stafford. I'm cool with. What about like Tutu Atwell?
I could see starting Tutu. This comes down to us having a different philosophy going into this game.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't. I don't know, man. Like, I'm feeling more confident about JSN than Tutu, personally.
Okay.
Like, that's kind of where I'm at. I think like
I would
3
agree.
targets, 3 catches type thing.
Yeah, I would agree because I think the Seahawks offense is better operated than the Rams offense is. So I could see that. I don't think the Rams will pass enough this game to keep 3 wide receivers plus a tight end potentially relevant fantasy wise. I think it's like 1 or 2 realistically.
Yeah.
Where one of them has like the 100+ yards and the next one has like 80 yards kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of where I'm at. I don't think there's really any surprises in this game or really any sleepers. If there was a sleeper, I'd probably pick Tutu.
Sure.
So I think he has that ability. Yeah. Both of them. They both have that ability and that talent to do that. But it's just do they get that opportunity? Which I think 100%. Is kind of low at this point.
I'm here for it though. Like, this is gonna be a good game, I think.
It's a game we're gonna want to talk about next week.
For
next
sure.
Tuesday, I believe.
There's a lot of relevance going on, especially if the Seahawks win. You know, like, we're talking about them like starting to squeeze in, you know, especially if the 49ers lose. Then the Seahawks will slide right on up in there.
Right. Exactly. So I think it's going to be a close game. It's going to be a hard-fought game. They're just going to I think this is going to be one of those games, truthfully, where there's not a whole lot of fantasy studs.
Yeah.
Right.
I think it's going to be spread around pretty well.
Exactly. We're not going to see it dominated by one position. We're going to kind of see it, like you said, spread around. We're going to see a lot of players get that 10 to 15 point range.
Yeah. You know, this is going to be like, you know, your fantasy staple game of the week. You know, just your 10, 15 point guys. And, you know, any of those guys I feel comfortable starting. It's just, you know, you're not going to get, you're probably going to have DK blow up. You're probably going to have, you know, I'm going to pick Puka to blow up over Cooper.
I'm fine with that.
But that's about it. That's about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think you're wrong for that either.
A game that I do think that one position will go ahead and dominate. Vikings, Broncos. I think wide receiver is going to be the big money maker this game.
Cortland Sutton time, baby. Let's go.
I love Cortland. He's been so good for like 5 or 6 years and doesn't ever get his roses.
I think he's a great play this week.
Mm-hmm.
I think Russell Wilson would be a good play this week as well.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
How you feeling about Javonte Williams?
Mid, like flex start.
So you'd start him, just not excited, kind of thing.
Yeah, like I think he's going to be 8 to 12 points.
Not bad. I mean,
yeah, solid.
Yeah, pretty good, pretty solid. There's no one to really, From the Broncos side, it's just like there's really no one that you're excited about. I think in this game.
Yeah.
You know, I think for me, it's like a lot of players you'd be starting is players that you have to start because you either have someone on bye week or your bench is just not that deep. Right. So you're kind of forced into that starting spot for them. But on the Viking side of the ball, I'd be starting Joshua Dobbs with the quickness.
100%. 100%.
Unless you have 2 already elite quarterbacks, there's no reason for Joshua Dobbs to not be starting, I think.
Yeah.
And then Jordan Addison, I think is a very good start. And then JJ, I think he's questionable right now. I could be wrong though.
I'll double check that.
I think he's questionable. I believe he's questionable right now. But if he's playing, obviously he'd start him because he is one of the best wide receivers in the game, and he is one of the best fantasy assets that you can currently own. But even if he does start, I'm still willing and confident to start Jordan Addison alongside him. You know, but one thing I'm staying away from is those Vikings running backs. Not touching them. They have no interest in them. But okay, so if they go out and Because generally, I like to stay away from the Vikings running backs. I don't like them very much. I don't have that much confidence in them to produce fantasy wise. If they went out and got Michael Carter, would you be more willing to start him or start a Vikings running back?
No. I think the issue is more on the offensive line with how they run block than anything else.
Okay.
Personally.
So okay, even if they did get Michael Carter, you'd still stay away from.
Yeah, like I don't know, man. Like I just like am really not feeling confident on their offensive line, and like they bring a lot of issues to the table with their running game, and that's why I had the Broncos winning this game 27-14.
Damn.
So JJ's practice status is limited participation in practice.
Okay. So he might play. There's a good odds that he plays.
Yep.
I think the Vikings win this one pretty, not easily, but I think it's going to be a super close game. And God, I'm really kind of torn on the score because I don't know what to pick. Ooh, wee. Okay, 27-20 Vikings.
You know, I think this could go either way. It's just Russell Wilson, when he gets hot and he's playing against good teams, he just wins a lot of the time. You know?
Yeah, I feel like this is also going to be one of those games that we're going to want to talk about again, a little bit more in depth on Tuesday.
I feel like this is a huge prove-it game for both quarterbacks.
Yeah, because like at least for Joshua Dobbs, I feel like a lot of people still have a lot of questions and a lot of doubt and a lot of hate. And if he continues to win and play well, that'll start to shut up a lot of people.
Yeah, and like, you know, if Joshua Dobbs loses this week, like, and then comes back next week with a fire and is able to come back and just prove that he is good, then that's big. And if he wins this week and he proves that he can turn the blade on a team, because it'll pretty much put the Broncos out of playoff contention. The Broncos are playing for their fucking lives right now. If they lose one more game, they could be out, and they realize that. So,
not even just playoff wise, but like publicity wise, right? Mm-hmm. Then like Sean Payton's seat could start getting hot from that just because of public pressure.
Yep.
Alone. So yeah, I would agree that this is a massive game for them. And if they don't at least keep it competitive, those calls are gonna for his firing might start getting louder and louder.
100%.
But my potential game of the week is going to be the Eagles Chiefs. I think this is going to be an intense showdown. I think you start for the Eagles at least. You start Jalen Hurts, Devontae Smith, AJ Brown.
Ooh. You starting anybody in that running back room?
I'm forgetting his name.
DeAndre Swift.
DeAndre Swift, starting him, firing that up. I'm confident in all those players. I think this is going to be a high-scoring affair.
Philadelphia Bulldogs.
Yeah, exactly. I think this is going to be a high-scoring affair where you can't really go wrong with the Eagles players to start. Mm-hmm. You know, it's almost one of those situations where I feel like there's no wrong answer kind of thing is almost where I'm at with it. And then for the Chiefs, obviously Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. Even so, but like wide receiver room wise for the Chiefs, is there anyone you're willing to start or confident in?
Sky Moore is going to have his day this season, man. I've been high on him all year. I've been saying it all year, man. He's going to have his day. It's just a matter of time.
He will.
He's too talented of a receiver, and Patrick Mahomes is too good of a quarterback for him not to get him the ball. Like, it's going to happen. And once that connection clicks, there's no turning back. Sky Moore is that good. Sky Moore can be that guy. I just don't think he's getting the targets. I don't think he's getting the relevancy on play calls. But I think it's starting to happen slowly. With that being said, you know, like, Travis Kelce is obviously a lock. Mahomes is obviously a lock. Chiefs running back room. You starting Pacheco? Excuse me.
Not confidently.
I am confidently.
That Eagles. I'm not. I don't think he's. I would start him, but I'm not expecting a lot. You know, which is why I say not confidently.
Right.
You know, I think he probably gets you 12 points. I think that's kind of where I'm at with him. Justin Ross, I like the pick.
I like Justin Ross too.
I think he could be good. But the Chiefs secondary, I mean not Chiefs secondary, the Chiefs wide receiver room is no one I'm excited to really start.
Yeah,
but I could
same.
see and understand the argument for, because I think it's really for the Chiefs just Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce and the story that are certified, right? That are just like the actual good starts. Everything else, I think, is almost like a dart throw at this point.
Final score?
Final score, I'm thinking 35-30. Chiefs win.
I'm thinking 38-21 Eagles.
I get it because the Eagles do just, without argument, have the better offense and the more firepower.
And a
So
better
I understand
defense.
it.
Significantly better defense.
So I understand the argument. But the Chiefs always seem to find a way to win.
100%.
And with teams that they should not beat. Right? And so
Patrick
I think
Mahomes.
they're going to do that again this year or this week. They're going to find a way to win.
Yeah.
I don't feel comfortable betting against Patrick Mahomes. I think it's going to be a hell of a game. And it potentially is going to be my game of the week when all things are said and done.
I think, man, if I had to pick a game of the week, I'm really thinking, like, just on a fun game to watch, I'm really thinking that Raiders-Dolphins is going to be my favorite game this week.
I think that has the potential to be a really good game and be an amazing game. I'm also really excited to watch the Steelers-Browns game.
Yeah, I'm excited to see my Steelers show at the Browns.
I think that potentially could be a good game, but I think it's going to end up being an ugly game. Bucks 49ers, I think it's going to be a good game.
I do too.
All right, Shane, you got any final comments before you send this out?
Well, we missed one game. Patriots on the bye week, and I think they're going to take the L.
Man, they would take the L no matter who they played. Even if they were playing this week, it'd be an automatic L.
Yeah, it's rough.
Like, with the Patriots at this point, I just have no confidence in them being able to put together a victory.
Yeah,
it's
bad. They look disheveled.
Like potentially the worst team in the league outside the Cardinals. It looks bad.
I think the Cardinals look better.
It looks sad.
The Cardinals at least look like they're trying to play for their jobs.
The Patriots
just look like they gave up.
They look like they're trying to play backyard football right now.
Not even.
And just mess around.
At least backyard football, you're having fun. They don't
even look like they're trying.
It looks like Bill Belichick walked into a fucking call center and said, "Hey, are you guys ready to play some ball?" And they all said, "Yeah."
I hate that you brought up the Patriots.
They're rough,
Big
man.
Move.
Hey, sorry about that. Hey, maybe in 10 years you could go ahead and start bashing me on how bad the Steelers are, but consistency.
I will next week.
Hey, go fuck yourself.
Next week.
And I think that's a great place to end the episode. Well, actually, let's do a chat replay.
Okay.
All right. Oh, thank you, Santa 8, my boyfriend, for the sub. Appreciate it. He says anything, he's banned. Go fuck yourself. Cut. That's what we should have done. Just get out of here.
God.
Chat on my side was saying, Steelers would stay undefeated in the division, so we'd have the tiebreaker. Watson out for the season is poetic justice. Dude is a piece of crap. Yep, I agree with that. My favorite player in the NFL, Deshaun Watson. Imagine, bro, Deshaun Watson and Henry Ruggs just being in the same locker room. That would have been so awesome. Man, I hate Henry Ruggs too.
Wild.
I can't believe I made that fucking statement earlier.
I'm about to find out and cut it.
Hey, a little dark humor never hurt no one. I circled back on it. Anything on your side for chat? You asked a question on the Facebook group earlier.
Yeah, so it actually never posted. I didn't see that it aired out, so it never got actually put in.
Wild. All right, so I guess that's where we're going to wrap up then.
Why don't you send us out, Shane?
All right, guys. Don't forget to comment, like, subscribe. Go check out the Facebook group. Give us a follow on Twitter. Give us a follow on Instagram.
Hell
We
yeah.
appreciate you. We appreciate you. We appreciate you. If you want to watch me be a dweeb, play games live, watch the stream live over on Twitch. Check out my Derpimation Twitch channel at twitch.tv/Derpimation. And we do have a YouTube that we upload clips on regularly, along with our TikTok. Definitely worth checking out. Ozzy's been doing an awesome job with the editing on it. I was just talking to my girlfriend about that earlier today. You know, it's looking really great. I appreciate the hard work that you're putting in. And on that note, I think we're out of here. Peace.
Goodbye.